been a long wait to see cars on track again in Sydney, but it's happening. What was good? What was bad? Well, in this video, I'm going to tell you everything about it because we were there. So a fair bit has happened since our last video. If you haven't watched that one, go check it out before you watch any more of this one. But overall, I only have one real criticism, if you want to call it that, but we'll get to that later. So what has happened since our last video on the whole Eastern Creek Speedway Sydney International Speedway saga? Well, the day after our last video was released, the New South Wales government's sport minister was questioned over it all, and honestly, it was a bit embarrassing.
With respect to the Speedway, do you have concerns that this $110 million Speedway is still not operational?
Obviously, I'd like to see the Speedway operational, but yeah, I don't have any specific concerns. I haven't had much to do with.
Now, this weekend we were meant to be in Toowoomba for the USC round, but just as we were almost at Sydney Airport, we had to turn around because the event was cancelled. So we stayed in Sydney the entire weekend, and since we were in town, it made sense to, hey, let's go out for the practice night. I'm just gonna call it Sydney International Speedway from now on because that is its new name. I got to the track before 6 p.m. and there wasn't too many cars, just a handful of cars from a few different categories. Located right where the driver's briefing is held was both the Speedway Australia practice permit and the Office of Sport permit, which was something I mentioned hadn't been obtained yet in our previous video. Off camera, I did speak with track manager Gary Wilmington, his son Braden, and also track curator Marty Perovich. Yes, I also did see Troy Baldy with a walkie-talkie, but I didn't see Yvonne, the actual owner. The venue also trialled a new track entry and exit format where cars would enter the track facing the wrong way in turn 1, and after their session would exit the track from what was the original entry. Was it better? Was it worse? I don't really know, but it was the perfect night to trial something like that. If they do go ahead with it, I think a lot of the transport markings in the pits will need to be adjusted to face the correct way. A lot of you asked about the changes to the actual track layout. The track had been reshaped since the last event there in April of last year. We've had lots of questions regarding that, so I tried to get some info on that. The track width has majorly changed in the corners, with it now having 19 meters of width now as opposed to the 25 meters of width before. The aim is to form longer straights so that it doesn't feel so short and non-stop and aggressive for drivers. You can really tell how intense it is by the onboards, which I'll show you guys later. The straights are also about 2 meters narrower now. Another big change is the banking. I've spoken about it in previous videos, but the banking used to taper off towards the top of the track. I was always puzzled as to why that was because it meant that you weren't going to see cars banging down the outside wall very often, which usually makes the best racing along with slide jobs from bottom to top. The new banking is now 3 degrees on the bottom, 7 in the middle, and now the top has by far the most banking with 12 degrees. So at the very least, we're going to see a lot better racing. Now, if you see this shot here, there is one noticeable trailer omission. That is the Bohud Racing trailer. They were a latecomer, and driver Michael Stewart explains that all later. Gloomy weather surrounded Sydney all day, so the track was always going to hold plenty of moisture and as a result be very fast. Scraping the outside wall so that drivers can see it is always a byproduct of a heavy racetrack. The track record is an 11.2 second lap, and early on in the night, cars were in their low 12-second bracket. We chucked some cameras on Alex Orr's 43 car, the 56 of Mick Sala, and Michael Stewart's number 14. nowhere near the lap record. It was the 92 of Sam Walsh who went quickest on the night with an 11.9 second lap. So, what did drivers think about the track? I spoke to the drivers who allowed us to put cameras on.
Michael Stewart, you've had like a bit of an interesting day. Tell us, you started in Canberra, then what happened?
So we started in New South Wales, in Collector where I live. Drove to Canberra to the airport to fly to High Tech Oils, to Speedway, and got off the airplane and got the bad news that it rained out. So we pretty much turned around, went straight down to Virgin, got the next flight out of there and got home. So we've had an up and down day like everybody else, and Scott and the boys were driving home and shows their dedication. They still wanted to run and turned up here to Eastern Creek for the practice night. So pretty cool. They had to drive 7 hours to get to here, so it's pretty wicked.
After flying up to Queensland, you flew back, then drove from
here.
Yeah, a couple of hours to here.
Yeah, two and a bit hours to here. So I went home and went to the local fair with the family for the day, and then I got the call to get in the car and come up here. So we've had a big day. We've been going for a while, and so the boys, they started driving yesterday up to Woomba, so they've had a massive day. But cool to come here. At least we can come and do something like this. It's feels a little bit like America. You just trip down the road a bit and go to another track. The other one rains out, so pretty lucky in that aspect. But the boys are worth their weight in gold.
What do you think of the track? Like, obviously they've reshaped it a little bit. What are your thoughts on it?
Still fast, still really fast. Clay's held him well. Like, surprised how consistent the clay is all the way around. Like, obviously there's a drainage drama in 3 and 4 all the time, so there's always a bit of a bump getting into 3 and 4. Whereas now that's sort of gone. It's got nice consistency about it. Straights feel a little bit longer because they've seems like they've skinnied the corners up a little bit more and made a bit of an infield about it. So I think it's going to be hard to race on because it's going to be fast and going to feel narrow. But just going out there, time trial and say it's wicked. You just put your foot to the boards and hang on and put your head on the headrest. But racing might be a bit of a different deal. But credit to him. Marty's been in here shaping the track up and he's done a great job of that. So just hopefully we can get a good amount of racing in.
Mick, what do you think of the track?
Obviously firstly it's just good to be back here. Definitely felt a few small changes to the track. The banking's pretty noticeable, so that's cool, but we had a lot of rain this morning, so it's pretty hard to say, like the track is pretty hammered down. It took 4 or 5 sessions to be greasy, so it's good that we just got it in, but it's definitely different. Definitely a step in the right direction, I think.
And it seemed by the lap times like a little bit slower with all the moisture out in. You think probably would have seen probably some of the faster laps you're going to see on this shape now. What do you think of like the banking and the overall length? The straights are like longer, does it feel? Yeah,
I definitely think they feel a little bit longer. Hard part is obviously with only, I think there's 10 sprint cars here, the track didn't really widen out. So I know in that last session it was a mixed group, and even to pull a slider and some of the other cars probably didn't feel the best, but again, like I said, the track was still only hard width, so I definitely think they're going in the right direction about it. They're working with what they got. We got a track back in Sydney, so they're 3 big positives. Was it perfect tonight? It definitely wasn't, but it's the very first night, so I still think it was a very good start.
Alex, we're finally back here in Sydney. What do you think of the racetrack?
Yeah, it's different, and I say that in a good way. I think Marty and the team have done a really good job in reshaping the track. The banking continues all the way up to the fence, which it really didn't do that before, so it made it quite hard to run the top, and I don't mind it being difficult, but it felt near impossible, so it made the bottom too quick. So right now we've got consistent banking to the top, it feels like. I can run the car high, low. I've just been talking to Gary and Marty about maybe some things I would fine-tune personally, but technically speaking, I feel like the banking grabs the car a bit earlier and lets you run down the straightaways straighter and longer. So everything we wanted out of this track, it seems to be doing right now. So all in all, really good night. Can't complain.
Probably feels nice to race a bit more local to home.
Mate, my wife is going to murder me at the end of this season. We've been to Warrnambool, and out to Dubbo a few times. And I will just... don't get me wrong, I love travelling, but maybe a bit less of that and a bit more home racing would be awesome. And it makes sense when we've got the best facility in the world sitting here. We just got to get it right and put it to good use.
I'm told by track curator Marty Perovich that they will adjust the track again after having listened to the drivers. I think they're going to open up the corners a little bit more again and maybe flatten out the straights a little bit. Unfortunately, with the weather conditions and the limited car count, the track was never going to really widen up for us to see cars right up against the wall. So what did I like and dislike about last night? Obviously, the track shape has taken a crucial step in the right direction, but most obvious to me was the vibe at the track for the few that were there. Everyone feels welcome to the track. Unfortunately, no one I spoke to when it was Eastern Creek Speedway felt like they really were welcome or wanted to be there. But now the competitors seem to feel more welcome at home. Maybe that is just time, maybe that's just a change in promotion, maybe both. I don't know, but to me that's a huge positive. Now, my one criticism. Before I say it, yes, I spoke with track manager Gary Wilmington and his team about this. I explained just how many of you had asked me for more info about the venue's happenings. And it all comes down to one thing, and that is communication. For them and the handful of people in the know, they know what is happening. The problem is that every other person other than those half a dozen people have no idea what is going on. To everyone else, their last bit of info was this post on February 7th, 17 days before the practice last night. Now, it's not my job to communicate every detail about every venue, especially this one, but just this once, I'll clear this up for everyone, right? The practice event wasn't meant to be a public practice for everyone to come and watch and every driver to drive around, but that was not communicated at all publicly. They only wanted a handful of cars to run around the track to find out what the reshaped surface was like, which is fair. I think a soft launch like that is perfect and was missing with the initial opening of the venue a couple years ago, but it wasn't communicated. I drove to the pit gate, showed my Speedway Australia license and paid $20 and went and watched. Honestly, anyone else could have done that, but it wasn't communicated. I have built a huge following with Sprint Car Hub just because we communicate info that people want to know about sprint car racing. You clicked on this video because you want to know what's going on. That's why we are paid to cover major events by drivers, teams, tracks and more. We do it to ensure you guys have a quality outlet that provides insights, which is why we appreciate when you guys click subscribe down below for our YouTube channel and grab your gear like this t-shirt or this hat over on sprintcarhub.com. Communication has never been easier with social media, and not many people would care about what I have to say if this sport did a better job of it. Now, either the promotional team is restricted by the government with what they say, or they aren't that good with communication. This is an entertainment facility. You have to bombard people with information. Even when I post results, start times, or how to watch events, I still get comments and messages asking about it as if I never put it up. You have to flood people with information, and just as much, you have to make it as easy as possible for them to get that info. Ask yourself if you'd know everything I've shared in this video without the video, or if you'd find out the info as easy without the video. I want to direct you to their Sydney International Speedway Facebook page, which seems to be their only social media channel, but honestly, there isn't that much info on it. So I'm at least glad that Sprint Car Hub can provide that info. Honestly, I think they just wanted to see cars run laps around, and that box got ticked last night. Of course, there are still a few questions to be answered. Will there be low nomination fees and decent prize money for competitors? What sort of events will they promote, and what are the entry prices like? I'm told a website is coming soon too. With a racing permit now and the drivers giving the track a thumbs up, I guess there's really nothing stopping them from holding events in March as planned.